Hi, this is Jacob Allen with EDL 851 Mod 14, the case study. Section 1 is the breakdown. We have Miss Stevens, who has been having trouble in her classroom. She's got a lot of unengaged students. Uh, she's presenting with a lot of direct instruction. From the principal side of this, formal visit has happened. A couple visits have happened. Then a formal visit has happened. They had a post-conference, and then again, those additional visits have happened. Uh, After doing that formal visit, the principal has made a decision to non-renew Miss Stevens just based on uh, poor engagement with students and then just her being not wanting to take feedback and being difficult to deal with. After that decision was made, the principal decided to meet with her to inform her that she will not be renewed. And she has stated to the principal that she is potentially going to take this to court. So the principal side of it is there's poor engagement in this classroom and there's an unwillingness to change by the teacher. The teacher is feeling that there's poor leadership and poor evaluation. Next up, as far as legal issues go, the teacher has felt cheated and disrespected by the non-renewal. The teacher could potentially have a case for improper termination. Some questions. A question I had about this is the form the principal filled out the district's and the state policy for the teacher's evaluation? Um, Moving on, there's no sort of discrimination or harassment. There is possibly a breach of contract, but again, that all depends on what is the district policy for this district. Lastly, comparing this to my district, the teacher would get put on a contract first. They would get a non-effective rating, and then there would also need a lot more evidence given in order to non-renew this teacher. And then lastly, I felt this part fit in, which is gathering and analyze district policies on instructional expectation. We'd have to gather some of the district policies in order to make a fully decision about the legal issues here. Section 3 is just a summary, one sentence summary of this whole situation. So a struggling teacher is being fired by a principal who may have made shortcuts in the evaluation process. Here's our known facts from the people part of this. The teacher is the only struggling educator in the building. Principal has done lots of observations. Students are disengaged in that room and disrespectful. The teacher was irritable in the conference. An additional observation was made. Nothing said to the teacher during that observation. That was when the principal decided to fill out the non-renewal form. And then the teacher received that non-renewal and then threatened a legal suit, and that there was no leadership happening. As far as places in this, the interactions have taken place in the teacher's classroom, the principal's office. We don't know whether this is a rural or an urban setting. And then lastly, one thing I put in here was the observed teaching in variety of classrooms. That was mentioned that the teacher has seen other teachers, but also my question would be where else could the principal have observed the teacher? Has he seen the teacher in the hallway? Have they seen him in a different setting? Maybe when a class has gone to the library or outside the classroom. And then lastly, program, we don't know the grade or this is a public versus a private school, because that could change some of the legal issues as well, public versus private. Section number 5, the conflict could potentially get the principal in trouble, which would hurt the entire community of the school, which in turn would hurt the community of the school being students, other teachers, things of those sorts. The people that have the biggest stake in this outcome are the principal and the teacher. One thing I would like to know about the situation I would like to know more about the situation in order to make a complete decision, but unfortunately we won't get that. So we'll make a decision with what we have. Questions I have here are, what is the district's protocol for evaluations? Did the principal follow that with the little half sheet he gave the teacher? What other steps has the principal taken to assist the teacher besides just the one meeting of, hey, I'd like to help you. What did previous observations consist of, the ones that were previously mentioned? What other ways has the principal got a feel for the teacher's class besides in-class observations like I already mentioned? Has he seen this teacher in other roles at the school, or has the principal seen the teacher outside of their own classroom? Next up, so thinking about the options and consequences. So step number 1 would be taking no action. What could happen is this. Potentially the teacher settles down. They might get over their harsh feelings about this eventually, and nothing comes of it. Probably not likely, but potentially. The other complete opposite of that, what could happen when taking no action, could be a court case does go through and the principal is guilty of wrongful termination, and it could lead to the principal potentially losing their job if there was a history of this. So if we're going complete opposite with liberal actions, you give this teacher an apology and admit to the teacher that there was a lack of process for evaluation. You put the teacher on a contract, start working with the teacher on a weekly basis with classroom management and curriculum design, and give this teacher a whole new evaluation. Pretend like the previous ones had never happened. But that would all be time dependent as well. So in the intermediate interactions could be put the teacher on a contract for the following year. I know I mentioned that in liberal, but I think that could be done intermediate as well. Change the classes the teacher is responsible for, and get this out of the way real quick. You could get the instructional coach involved. Section 7. So some pros and cons of the decisions made. Some pros of no action would be difficult teachers removed. You have the chance to improve your staff by hiring somebody new. A con would be a potential lawsuit. And then another con not thought of is there's no chance to reevaluate the evaluation process. The principal doesn't get the chance to make the evaluation process better by not taking any action, even on himself. As far as the liberal decisions were, so the pros would be that the teacher feels redeemed, but the con might be that the teacher feels power over the administrator, and then potentially there'd be no improvement in that situation. The teacher might be able to walk over the principal at that point. For the immediate pros, teacher would feel a change must be made, but gets to keep their job, which is important to everyone. And the con might be teacher may not want to make any changes. They might feel like they are 100% in the right, and then you'd be back at square one again. So the decision that I have here is, well, I want to do something that helps all stakeholders. I think the principal and the teacher could improve from the situation, which is another one of the standards that we mentioned. Candidates understand the importance of how to evaluate, develop and implement systems of supervision, support, and evaluation designed to promote school improvement and student success. So my thought process on my decision is how can the principal get the teacher to turn from defensive to growth mindset? Because this teacher seems very defensive of their teaching at this point. Let's try to turn that around and get them growth. And then another additional question I had in my thinking was, is there another resource I could call upon to help this teacher out? Could that be somebody else in the building? Could that be somebody in the district? Could that be another teacher to help them out? So ultimately, here is what I decided. First, start with an apology. Next, if that teacher is okay with your apology, you can start working on an improvement plan for this teacher. If the teacher just doesn't accept your apology, you might have to move on. Next thing would be get the teacher connected to an instructional coach. Help them out with some classroom management and some new activities for them. And then I felt that this one fit in here. So develop a system for monitoring where supervision and evaluation strategies promote improvement. Next, I would reevaluate the teacher and walk teacher through a new rubric that the district might have given to us that maybe has a little more in depth. I can give the teacher better feedback because I felt the feedback was a little unfair, but that would be part of my apology if I was using the wrong rubric. And then if there's still time, maybe resubmit evaluation if there was time for that. If not, you might have to push it off till the next year where you have to reevaluate then. I would then, since I'm considering that I think there might be a new model for evaluation, I would let all the staff know the new evaluation model because they're going to need to know if that's the new evaluation. Next, you might need to contact the achievement director and your instructional coach on the plans of this new evaluation to make sure you're still following district protocol. And this feeds into that, which is provide teaching staff with actionable feedback to support improvement. Again, I want to improve the evaluation form. Lastly, if the teacher doesn't want a reevaluation and a contract for the following year, record that interaction, inform the consequences of not wanting to follow through on this, which would be losing the job. And if that teacher is still not compliant, you might have to let them go. And so finally, this one was candidates use their understanding and capacity to undertake and implement this work within a school setting. I was using all my capacity in order to implement something that would work in this school setting. Thank you.